the slides?
Yeah, we see. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of you who are here. Welcome to the Small Body Features webinar 2023. Wait a minute. As you might, my name is Uxue Ganezar, and as you might, some of you might know, I am the project lead for the Copernicus Land Monitoring Service at the European Environment Agency. First of all, Paul, I would like to give some housekeeping rules. So next slide, please. Next one. Next one. Yes. So as you might already know, this webinar is being recorded. I would also like to ask you to please follow the general webinar courtesy rules. Please mute your microphones if you are not speaking as, and also please maybe you can also switch off your cameras for that. Enter the questions for the presenters in the Q&A chat located in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen, and we will answer them as soon as possible. You might hear some noises in the background from the. We are not right now. Ludwig and myself, we are holding this webinar from the European Space Agency, and unfortunately, we are located in a building with some works ongoing. I just hope that it can be heard by everyone and no major problems are there. So, as I said, and just to finish this short introduction and before giving the floor to the next presenter, I would like to welcome you to this Small Body Features webinar. We are very pleased to have this webinar in place, and the purpose is twofold. On one hand, we wanted to give publicity to the launch of release of the 2018 Small Body Features Reference Data Update. This update, which was created in 2021, has suffered from major delays in the publication due to issues that are well out of our control. But if we are now, it is already published. We have already published, and we are happy to present that. Of course, as it is usually the case, the Land Monitoring Service has had a policy of sharing the data with whoever asks for it. And on the other hand, the purpose of this webinar is to start a conversation with users. We are now starting the drafting of the call for tender for the 2021 update. 2021 and 2024 updates, and we wanted to give the floor to users and to start a conversation with some of our stakeholders, such as our colleagues who are in contact with the DGs and who are dealing with the policy areas that are supported by the Small Body Features. We would like to receive some requirements from your side, and of course it is not always that we can address all of them, but we certainly can try. And without further saying from my side, I would like to give the floor now to our colleagues from the CLS, who were the contractors implementing the production, with Loïc Fauquer on the overview of the Small Body Features product. Loïc, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Uxue. And well, hello to everyone who joined this webinar for the launch of this new product. So this first part will be a small overview of the portfolio of the different products included in this high resolution layer product. Next slide, please. So the aim of this Copernicus Land Monitoring Service product is to identify linear edge rows and tree rows along field boundaries, as well as riparian and roadside vegetation, patches of trees and scrub across the pan-European coverage. And this mapping of those woody elements is based on the supervised classification of very high resolution Earth observation dataset for the reference year 2018 using machine learning algorithm. This product is the second product of the Small Body feature. It was already produced for the reference year 2015. And what we learned from the production of the 2015 small woody feature layer is that this product was kind of difficult to apprehend. It contained different classes for which the definition were not completely obvious or very intuitive for users because of arbitrary geometric rules. Also, this product aims at mapping small woody elements that are outside forest, meaning that what is considered forest, while it was explained in the documentation, was not provided as a dedicated layer, and all those things made the product kind of difficult to apprehend because users did not have the complete overview of why a woody element was present or absent of the product. So to mitigate this in this update, in this 2018 update, some changes were made that I will explain in the next slide, please. Here you have the main differences that exist between the very first iteration of the small woody feature for the reference year 2015 and what exists now for the update, for the 2018 update. First of all is the classes that are present in the product. In 2015, the product was separated into 3 classes: linear features, patchy features, and additional woody features. To facilitate the understanding of the product by users, the 2018 update only contains 1 class, which is the small structure of trees, hedge, bushes, and scrub without any differentiation if they are linear, patchy, if they are trees, bushes, or scrubs. So no more linear classes, patchy classes, or additional woody feature class. The coverage for both products is basically the same, except that in 2015, some part of Europe were not covered due to insufficient cloud-free satellite data coverage. In 2018, this is not the case. The 38 countries, member of the EEA plus UK, are completely covered. The input data is, of course, different between the 2 years because there are 2 different timestamps on the very high resolution dataset that has been used. The geometrical specification were slightly different. The main change is that in 2018, we are mapping elements that are shorter than in 2015. In fact, the minimum length for a linear structure switched to 50 meter, from 50 meter to 30 meter in 2018. And also what is very, that we hope will be really helpful for the users is that now some additional layers are provided together with the main products, and those additional layers are the woody vegetation mask, which I will explain more in detail in the future slide, but also the forest mask that has been used to differentiate what has been considered as forest and what has been considered as out of forest, and therefore the extent in which we are mapping those small woody feature. Next slide, please. So the small woody feature product is in fact containing different layers, and the portfolio is the following. There is a vector layer mapping all those small woody feature, but also a raster product at 5 meter resolution. Another aggregated layer at 100 meter spatial resolution, which in fact map the density of a small woody feature within pixels of 100 meter spatial resolution. There is this new layer, which is the woody vegetation mask, the forest mask also at 5-meter resolution, and of course some documentation that are already existing and available on the Copernicus Land website. Next slide, please. So here I will present the different specification of all the different layers. So the first one, the main product, as I would say, is the small woody feature vector product. It is a mapping based on supervised classification of VHR data that aims at mapping the linear and patchy structures outside forest. It is derived from a woody vegetation mask that I will present later by applying some geometric rules, which were explained in the previous slide, meaning that a linear structure should be at least 30 meters long, but also have a maximum width of 30 meters, for instance, and patchy structures have also a minimum area of thing like that, some different geometric rules that are applied to all the woody vegetation that exists outside forest. It's provided in LAEA projection, but also in national projection. It's a vector from product, as I already said. There is some different minimum mapping unit and minimum mapping length with respect to the technical geometric rules that define what is patchy or what is a linear feature. And it only contains one class, which is small structures of trees, hedge, bushes, and scrub. Next slide, please. From this product, from this vector product, we derived a raster product at 5-meter spatial resolution. It's compliant with the EEA grid. It's also provided in the same projection, both European and national. This product has been assessed using during an internal validation activity, and it has users and producers accuracy that exceeds 80%. And we find here the same thematic classification that for the vector product, with the only difference that, of course, as it's raster, all pixels have a value, and non-small woody feature are labeled as 0, and what has been unclassifiable or outside area have their own pixel value, of course. Next slide, please. So from this 5-meter raster product, we derive a 100-meter raster product. It's, as I already explained, a product that have pixels of 100 meters, and it mapped the density of small woody feature between 0 and 100% within each of those pixels that are compliant with EEA grid here also. Next slide, please. Here we have the woody vegetation mask, which is a new product here, and in fact, it's when we are looking at the workflow of the production of this small woody feature layers. This is in fact chronologically the first product that is derived from the classification of the VHR dataset. It maps everything that is woody outside of forest, and without any geometric rules applied, without any minimum mapping unit, minimum mapping length. It's basically everything that could be considered as a small woody feature outside forest without any geometric constraint. The workflow, when we apply the geometric rules that define small woody feature to this product, to this layer, give us the main product, which are labeled as a small woody feature, vector and raster. Next slide, please. What is also a new product, an additional layer provided for the 2018 reference year, is the forest mask. It is this forest mask has not been produced per se during the in the framework of this product, but it is in fact derived from an existing other Copernicus product, which is the high resolution TCD from the reference year 2018, and also from Carolina Cover 2018. In fact, using those both products and by applying some rules to them to fit as much as possible the FAO forest definition, we derived a forest mask that has been used to mask everything that we should consider as forest, meaning that small woody feature can only exist outside of this mask. Therefore, you won't, if you download the product and check the forest mask and the small woody feature products, you will see that they are not overlapping. They are complementary to each other because of the definition of the small woody feature product. Next, please. Yeah, last but not least, there is a dedicated product user manual that is available on the Copernicus land monitoring website that contains all those technical information regarding the input data sets, the workflow that has been used to derive all those products, the geometric or technical details such as the geometric rules for all the data sets that I'm listed, the small woody features, both vector, raster, the woody vegetation mask, the forest mask, and so on. All the details that you need are contained into the user manual. Next slide, please. Regarding the access to this dataset, of course, as it is a Copernicus dataset, it's freely available for everyone. All the products and documentation are available on the Land Copernicus website. You can use an online viewer to view the product, of course, but also all the products are available at for download. Products, vector and 5-meter products rasters are available on the tail-based of 200 by 200 kilometers, meaning that you need to download several tiles to cover the whole Europe, except if you're only interested by the 100-meter product that exists as one unique layer that covers the full European extent. And I think that's it for this part. Next slide, please. Yes, I will have some words now about the internal validation that happens during the production of this new layer.
Sorry.
Of course, yes, Shui, you want to make some?
Yes, just before you start with the validation, I would like to actually have 2 questions for you. So maybe
Sure.
We'd rather start now with the questions. The first is regarding the forest mask that was used. The first question is why, as the people in this webinar might know, we have within the product portfolio of the Land Monitoring Service, we have only one product that is following largely a forest classification. This is called the forest type product, and it's created within the high resolution forest and will be given continuity within the high resolution vegetated land cover characteristics. So my question is, why was not that layer used instead of building another forest mask?
In fact, it was a part of the early discussion when considering the definition of the small woody feature and what extent it should map. What we were facing as issues using the forest type product is the fact that within agricultural areas, there could be some valuable small woody feature that exists and that could not be correctly masked or not masked if we use the forest type product. A good example is in the southern part of Europe, in Mediterranean landscape, you have lots of olive trees or orchards or tree plantations that are agricultural trees that are not part of the small woody feature definition. Without within those landscape, you can have some natural trees, riparian trees, or hedgerows that delimit some parcels, but for which are, of course, valuable small woody features that are features that we wanted to map, but the use of the forest type product do not allow to perform a correct discrimination within the agricultural areas between the trees that should be considered as agricultural trees and trees that are in fact part of the landscape, such as small woody features. Therefore, we went back to the parent product of the forest type, meaning the tree cover density, and apply different rules just to be able to mask all the trees that are part of the agricultural areas, but without masking the valuable small woody feature that also exist in those agricultural areas and which are not easily identifiable when we use the forest type products.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's very helpful to know for users that are starting now to use the product. And I also have another question, just thinking about the future. Do you think, given the current methodology, so the one you created for the 2018 update, do you think that it is feasible that it is that the forest mask, as it is now defined, is given continuity? Or do you foresee that there will be a need to introduce still more changes in the future?
You mean for futures, small woody features, for future iteration?
Yes.
I would say that we are interested, and I assume that EA is also interested in having some kind of continuity, consistency between the different updates of the products. Of course, we have some room for improvement regarding the definition and how we can apply, I would say, more relevant workflow to map more relevant elements. But yes, of course, this we have a solid basis here that that could be used for future update, whether it's for small woody feature or whether it's for the forest mask, but and that would also ensure some kind of consistency. But as I said, there is always room for small fine tuning to make sure that the product at the end answers the user's need.
Okay, thank you very much, Luigi. I see that there are no questions in the chat, so you can continue with the validation. Thanks.
Thank you. So yes, some few words about the validation, the internal validation that have been made by the consortium that produced this product. It was based on the interpretation of samples distributed all across Europe. Those samples, more than 10,000 samples, were distributed across the Lucas grid. A small precision here. We did not use the Lucas information to validate our product, but just the spatial localization of the Lucas point, just to ensure that we have traceability in our sampling and in our samples. Once we have defined our samples, the interpretation, the validation was made following two approaches, meaning the samples were interpreted to create a reference database that will be matched against the product to derive the users and producers accuracy. Two approaches were used to interpret the samples. First, we have an accuracy assessment at primary sample unit level, which I should define right now. In fact, you can see on the bottom left on the screen the illustration that explain what our validation sample looks like. In fact, as I already said, they are based on the Lucas point that you can see, which is the green element on the left illustration. Each selected Lucas point allows us to define what we call a primary sample unit, which is a 100 meter squared. And within those 100 meters squared, we define randomly 25 secondary sample units, which are the red dots here. And to perform the accuracy assessment of our product, we use two approaches. The first one is to aggregate the information at PSU level, and the second one is to use the secondary sample unit level to derive the users and producer accuracy. For the approach at primary sample unit level was already existing for the 2015 product. We choose to use it again for the 2018 to make sure that we have a consistent approach between both years and to be able to compare the quality of both products, 2015 and 2018. But we also, in the 2018 production, include this accuracy assessment at secondary sample unit level to have more information about the exact outline of the feature that we are mapping. Next slide, please. So the response design, once we have our samples defined, is based on a visual interpretation and manual digitization of small woody feature within each sample unit by an independent team using both the VHR dataset that have been used for the production, but also external Earth observation dataset as reference data that could be some Google Earth imagery, Bing, USM, or National Geoportal when they exist. Once the manual digitization of the small woody feature within each sample has been done, it is converted to a 5-meter raster using the same rule that we use for production to switch between the vector and the raster product. And within the extent of each sample, we compare the reference and the product. So you have some examples here where you have two different examples. In the upper part of the screen, you have the product with an example of what is a primary sample unit. What we produce as a reference as a reminder is based on visual interpretation of the VHR data and also external Earth observation dataset. And once we have both datasets within the extent of the samples, we made some comparison between the two products at the issue level, meaning it's an aggregation within the sample unit that gives us an information about presence or absence of small woody feature, but also at secondary sample unit level that allows us to understand if we correctly outline the small woody feature or if there is some discrepancy between the reference and the product. this is what you can see on the left example. The green dots represent secondary sample units which are matching between product and the reference. And the red dots show where there is a discrepancy between the product and the reference, meaning that here we have correctly identified the presence of a small woody feature, but the exact shape of the feature is not consistent between the product and the reference, leading to some discrepancies. Once we have this information for all samples, we are able to derive the users and producers accuracy, which are presented in the next slide. And then, yeah, you have the results. The first approach at PSU level, so basically the detection of small woody feature, show producer accuracy for at pan-European level of more than 88%, and a user accuracy of more than 90%. The secondary sample unit level approach that define that assess the exact delineation of features show lower accuracy that are still above 70%. And what that means for the if we look at those of those figures, is that we have an overall good detection of small woody feature at pan-European level. If we compare the same figures between 2015 product and 2018 product, we have an increase of between 8 to 10% for both users and producer accuracy if we compare between both years. So we have good detection, but the exact shape of the features may be imperfect. This is the information we derive from the secondary sample unit approach. And those imperfect outlines are due in part to the spatial resolution of the products and also the VHR data specification, that because the VHR we used as input data, of course, they have some different specification with a different timing acquisition across the year, different viewing angle, acquisition angle that, of course, have an impact on the exact outline of the features, as we can see between the what could be seen on the satellite imagery compared to what exists really on the ground. So there is always a part of how can I say, uncertainty here, and that is reflected by those figures that are being a bit lower compared to the detection part of the small woody feature, meaning that we have the presence absence. We have a good detection of the features, but the exact outline is a bit imperfect. And I think that's all for those part of the internal validation. Next slide, yes. I think that if you have questions about this,
thank you very much,
step.
Thank you very much, Loic. We have two questions. One is from Marijn van der Velde, our colleague from the GRC. Maybe I will give you the floor, Marijn, and you can directly ask the question to Loic. Marijn? Oh, okay.
Sorry, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good. Sorry. My apologies. No, I've just one question, actually, thinking back about the previous section, because I understand you created this new forest mask at 5 meters based on the VHR. Did you do a validation for that as well to understand, let's say, this first step, to discriminate the forest from the non-woody part in the rest of the landscape?
No, in fact, this forest mask was automatically derived from an existing product, from an already existing product, which is the HRL tree cover density 2018. which have its own its own internal validation, which we're outside of this of the framework of this small body feature layer. And I would encourage you to check the validation and the accuracy assessment of this HRL PCD. And then, but when we do not make a proper internal validation, proper validation of this product, because in fact it's just applying some geometric rules on minimum mapping unit to an already existing product that has been already validated. Therefore, it was not the question here to do another round of validation for a product that's already existing and published.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks, Loic. We have another question from Stuart Green from Tiagas. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. Please, Stuart, the floor is yours.
Thanks. I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. With the process you have for validation, does it mean that the figures quoted, 88% and so on for the producer accuracy, they're actually for the 5 meter product and not the vector product?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Exactly. But both products are very similar because it's just a conversion between a raster and vector. But the accuracy assessment was made on the 5 meter raster product.
Okay, and since I have you here, I've problems interpreting one of the things. The minimum mapping width for the linear features. It says the minimum mapping width is less than or equal to 30. Does that mean that 30 meters is the minimum width?
30 meter is the maximum width.
Is the maximum width. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there is no minimum.
There is no minimum. I would say the minimum is 5 meter because we have 5 meter pixels resolution, but there is no minimum.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. We have another question from Laura from the GRC on the SSU metric. I think that the answer is quite straightforward because, as Loic has mentioned, what you are measuring is the detection of the features and not so much the delineation. Is that correct?
Yes, in fact, the SSU metrics mean that 70% are correctly delineated. There is some imperfection for the remaining 30%, but the accuracy regarding the detection of small body feature, you should look at the PSU approach, meaning that in around 90% of the case, we correctly detect the presence of small body features. But within those elements that have been detected, 70% have a perfect delineation, and some have some discrepancy between our reference and the product regarding these outlines.
Okay, good. And this actually brings, before I give the floor to Fernando Serrano from the GRC, who also would like to make a question. This brings me to my question, because we have proved that we can detect them, but the delineation is still it's not that it's an issue, but it is influenced by many variables, including the viewing angle, as you correctly pointed out there. However, a lot of our users are interested in the change product. And my question to you would be, how feasible do you think, according to your experience, to create an accurate change product? And what is the spatial resolution you would recommend? Because as the people in the webinar might know, our change products for the other HPLs are created at 20 and at 100 meters. And for this one, we stick only to 100 meters. Do you think that it is feasible to say that we could go to 20 meters in the future? Or do you think that we should stay to 100 meters?
It really depends on what kind of Earth observation data we will we will have in the near future, because for other HRL products, which are mainly based on Sentinel-2 analysis, there are a kind of a standard thing about the Sentinel-2 that allow easier comparison between the same image in different years, the same location in different year. Here, for the small body features, we rely on VHR data. There is some difficulties regarding the specification of the VHR and the fact that there is a heterogeneity first within the yearly coverage of EA, because those VHR coverage over the full European extent use different sensors with different spatial resolution, different specification in terms of acquisition angle, of acquisition time, or things like that. But this heterogeneity also exists across datasets. For instance, if we look at the 2015 dataset, the 2018 dataset, or the 2021 VHR dataset, the same area, the same location will be covered by images from different sensors with different viewing angle and different spatial resolution, meaning that a very accurate change detection, because we are talking about very small elements here, and therefore we want to have a very detailed change also, because if an edge row, for instance, of 10 meter width disappear between the 2 years, we want to be able to map this change. The heterogeneity within the VHR and the VHR dataset and across the different VHR datasets makes it very challenging to have a very detailed change detection for those elements, meaning that going to a very fine spatial resolution for change product for the small body feature is currently, I would say, at the minimum, very challenging. And of course, if we obtain in a perfect and ideal features a VHR coverage without the same standard as Sentinel-2, for instance, that will give us the opportunity of having a much more detailed change product. But let's see what the future Earth observation sensors will bring us in the future, in the next years.
Okay, thank you very much, Loic. I will give the floor for the last question for you in this slot to Fernando Serrano from the GRC. Fernando, please go ahead.
Thank you, Sue. Now it's a bit just commenting about what you just mentioned now, right? So the accuracy figures are much better than in 2015, but still we are looking at 70–77%. And again, if we are thinking about detecting change, and if we have similar accuracies in two products, we think about error accumulation, we would be thinking about or talking about figures around 0.6, 0.7, 0.5, which is not actually very accurate for change detection. So my question is, those figures, basically the accuracy and product accuracy, do they meet the product specification?
Indeed, yes, because the product specification is 80% for the producer and user accuracy for the status product, which were exceeded here. But the change product is still an experimental aspect of this layer, and therefore no product specification exists. Therefore, no proper validation were made about this product, because as we already mentioned, it's very challenging due to the specification of the input data, and it's still okay, kind of experimental.
Thank you.
Okay.
Loic, thank you very much for your intervention, very interesting. I would now like to give the floor to our colleagues from the European Topic Center on Digitalization, the verification carried out by the colleagues from Lechner. Gergely, please, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Good afternoon to everyone. Do you hear me correctly?
Yes, we hear you.
Thank you very much. I'm Gergely Moha. I work in Budapest, Hungary, in the Lechner Knowledge Center, and with the team of colleagues of the institution, partner institution of the European Topic Center, Data Integration, Digitalization, we have performed the verification of the small body feature products. Next, please. So first, I would like to speak some words about clarification of the terminology we use for quality assessment and quality control activities. So the validation, my colleague Loic have spoken about, it produces mainly quantitative measures. So the main question is, does the quality of the product reach a certain level of accuracy, or what is the level of accuracy? So the key measures, usually key measures are total accuracy or average overestimation or commission or average underestimation, omission, or their inverse is users or producers accuracy. What we do, it is a bit different. The verification, and this has also links to the usability analysis, is mostly qualitative characterization. It produces some numbers, but it is mostly qualitative. So the key questions are, is the product fit for specific purposes? This requires the understanding of the main characteristics of the product, and especially in relation to the other products delivering similar information. And the other question is, where are the weak points? So is it possible to improve at a certain steps or certain intermediate steps? And this requires the understanding of the main production steps. Next, please. So I would like to start now about with a quick overview how woody features appear in Copernicus land monitoring products. First, some words about the famous Corin land cover dataset, which is very rich in thematic information. There's a lot of thematic classes concerning land cover, land use, and landscape patterns. We have complex cultivation, agroforestry, and so on. So this area, by the way, it's County Dublin, Ireland example. It has some forest or tree cover classes, or broadleaf forest, coniferous forest, mixed forest, but some others like where trees appearing, like orchards, some complex cultivation, agroforestry, and so on. But the backdrop is that it has low spatial resolution, so the 25 hectare is the minimum mapping unit, and this does not allow to map the small landscape features in detail. So next slide, please. We have a quite new data set now, the CLC Plus backbone, which has 11 classes, and it excludes land use aspects. It is clearly a land cover data set, pan-European land cover data set, and 10-meter resolution. It has already four classes having connection to woody features, needle leaf trees, broadleaf trees, and also woody broadleaf evergreen trees in Mediterranean and low-growing woody plants, bushes. This high resolution already allows to show more details, but it's still not enough to map small landscape features in detail. Next, please. The case is similar with the high-resolution forest layers. You see here the dominant leaf type layers, which have the broadleaf trees and coniferous trees classes. The same 10-meter resolution already for 2018. It had 20-meter before in previous updates. But the case is the same. This resolution is still not enough to map small landscape features in detail. And the next slide, please. And we have here already the small woody feature products. And in this beautiful Irish landscape, you see here already that this resolution allows to map the most of the small woody landscape features at the pan-European coverage. Maybe a backdrop that the green areas are the forest mask, that it was not the purpose to map all woody features for Europe. It concentrates to the small landscape objects. So please, the next one. So now I would like to jump to the understanding the main production steps. So the production, it is we have learned that it is a really very complex procedure, and this simplified conceptual scheme I show now, it is only a very far approximation of the topic, but it helps to understand where the issues may lie, and help to understand for the users the main characteristics of the production. So first, there is a separation, a classification of tree covered and non-tree covered areas in a very high resolution. The second step, it is creating the woody vegetation mask, mainly by excluding large contiguous tree-covered features by forest masks and some other steps. And the third one is creating the small woody features products by excluding some features from the woody vegetation mask, which does not correspond to certain geometric specifications which were listed by Luc before. Next slide, please. Some illustrations. We have one expert products, which is not part of the main product portfolio of the small woody features, but appears as an expert, intermediate expert product called small woody feature confidence layer. So this may illustrate well the first step. It shows probability of tree cover or classification probability classification confidence as percentages. So you see here that over 50%, it provides already highly valuable information about the potential tree cover, but you cannot be sure that the elements you see are really tree cover or a kind of over classification, overestimation. It is currently not a validated product in the current portfolio. Next, please. So illustration of the next step. So here, of course, the areas with the high confidence of tree cover, high probability of tree cover were selected. Areas were excluded by the forest mask. So large forested, contiguous forested areas were excluded by the forest mask. By the way, this forest mask is coming from other external sources, other external products like tree cover density or CRC layers. And here some heavy additional manual enhancement was to remove the artifacts and errors. If you check this slide, you see that there are still some green parts which are not part of the woody vegetation mask. And of course, here at that step, the one question is that are these the exclusion of these parts it was clever or not? Maybe these are only false classifications, but maybe not. That is one question of or verifications. And the next one is to create the small woody features by excluding some features, applying complex geometric rules. It included the vectorizing of the woody vegetation features, separating linear and patchy features. This separation is not included to final product, by the way, and applying rules specifically to linear and patchy features. And here you see that you see still some green, some blue parts which are part of the woody vegetation mask, but not anymore to the small woody feature. Next slide, please. So we try to build up a complex verification procedure and made an analysis of checks of the small woody feature, also the vector products, some checks, small woody feature raster products at 5 meter resolution, mainly the woody vegetation mask. This was was the target of our main target of our examination, but also we took a look to forest mask and also to the confidence layers as expert products. And the requirement was also to check the change products, which is an aggregated 100-meter product. Next slide, please. So these are the main steps of the complex verification. I will mention mainly the main three part. So it included the general overview of the production. The check was performed by production units, 200 by 200 kilometer production units. And we have had resources only to check 6 or 7 production units. It included visual checks, visual overview, and checking the statistics. And the first part, and the second part, it was a look and feel verification of the status products. It needs some clarification of the terminology again. It is not the same as to check all the part by random samples. This kind of check concentrates to finding errors, to finding mistakes. So we used the CRC backbone and other data set and compared with woody vegetation mask, and we're looking for conflict areas, different kinds. And in the third option, when we have checked the change product, then it was a bit different. We have vectorized the 100-meter resolution change product, and simply by production units, we have checked the 10 largest increased and 10 largest decreased polygons, so contiguous areas. Next slide, please. This is a summary of the look and feel verifications. The numbers are grades or notes. So the green one with 5 means excellent, and the red one with 1 means pure or very pure. The most red ones you see here, it hints to the low reliability of the change data. I don't want to mention here all the details. If someone is interested by question, I can mention more details, but it shows that we have less commission, less underestimation. So most of the woody features were found. A bit more commission, meaning more overestimation, especially in case of grass-covered, arable land, water-covered areas. We have checked by the vector product, we have checked only the last 10 largest vector, which were mostly correct. Also, we have included some checks by whether the geometric rules were applied correctly, or the application of the geometric rules lead to meaningful results or not. Next one, please. So some examples to understand better these numbers before. So first, this is the green one is again this confidence layer, which is not a main product. You see here that the high tree cover confidence captured rather well the real tree cover if you compare with the orthophoto. But in that case, there are still some jumps in confidence levels. So there are some artifacts. And what we can also see in that image, but maybe not so clearly, but still, that at some part the connecting features are appearing in the small woody feature product, the red one, and some parts not. How exactly the geometric rules exclude the appearance of the woody features in the small woody feature product, and how far not, that is one question. Next slide, please. While we have had a beautiful product in continental landscape and island by applying the geometric rules and everything, the product is mostly problematic at the Mediterranean areas, Mediterranean low density tree cover areas. So one of the main problem you see here that two large areas are masked unnecessarily or removed unnecessarily by the forest mask. All the brown ones are removed from the products. In the background, you see that the high tree cover confidence appearing in the expert products. Even single trees are mapped by the expert products, but these were removed. And the other that you see here, some of the green are covered by blue. So the woody vegetation mask includes already some more elements, but many of these were excluded in the final small woody feature product by the geometric rules. So our main conclusion is here that these rules are maybe not very well applicable to this kind of landscape. This works good for hedgerows and linear elements and so on, but not for this kind of Mediterranean landscape. By the way, this is a large agroforestry areas and includes also some olive groves in Spain. Next slide, please. Another example of an urban area. I have selected here Copenhagen because of the European Environment Agency. What you see here that the most of the urban tree areas are recognized quite well by both by high tree cover confidence and also by woody vegetation mask and the small woody feature product. But in one case here where it is blocky, the forest mask has removed the tree cover in a city park, and in another city park where the tree cover does not appear so blocky, the woody vegetation remained in the small woody feature product. So it's a bit we found it a bit inconsistent to use here the forest mask to remove features. Next one, please. And finally, some examples about the changes. What you see here, it is not the 100-meter resolution change data set, but the small woody feature, the 5-meter resolution small woody features behind. On the left side, this is the small woody feature 2015 product with the small woody feature and additional woody feature areas. And on the right side, the new 2018 product, red is small woody feature area, blue is the woody vegetation mask. Of course, what is red, it is also blue. So small woody feature is a subset of the wood vegetation. So what you see here that in 2015, it is a high underestimation of the tree cover within the city area, which is a small city, Jászapati in Hungary. On the right side, you see that the woody vegetation mask captured quite well most of the tree covered areas. There is a slight underestimation because of application of the geometric rules if you check the small woody feature. Next, and the next slide. And that's the opposite. It's an example from Germany, Lützel. It's a small village or city. Here, the 2015 data set has overestimated largely the tree covered areas, while the 2018 data set captures quite well, but it is it gives a false signal of decrease of the small woody feature area. And the next slide, please. So we have summarized our conclusions in that slide. So the first point is that small woody feature 2018 product portfolio presents a great potential to provide a high quality and detailed land cover map for Europe, even in 5-meter resolution. There is a few underestimation, more overestimation, but if to in the potential, it needs some significant manual work to remove the artifacts and commission cases. The second point is that the application of the forest mask, and there are differences in the forest mask because different inputs are used for the forest mask for 2018 and 15, and also the rules and the creation rules are a bit different. So the application of forest mask causes inconsequent appearance of the small woody features in the certain reference date. So maybe we the concept has to be maybe checked again. And also that the application of the complex geometric rule sets, which results to the exclusion of some features from woody vegetation mask and reaching the small woody features. There were also some changes in the rules between 2015 and 2018. And the application of these geometric rules does not provide equally reliable quality results for all regions. You have seen for Mediterranean area, it does not work really properly, while it produces quite beautiful results for other areas. Agriculture or also even for city areas. And finally, that the change products are mostly unreliable as a consequence of all the above factors I've mentioned here. We have one last slide. Next one, please. Some recommendations for the next update, what we recommend as topic center. Maybe it would be a good idea to provide a full cover of high quality and detailed tree cover map of Europe in 5 resolution with the name of all woody features, which were already mentioned also by the service provider company during the discussions as a primary products. Maybe it would be a good idea to have this as primary product and provide all the other products like woody vegetation mask and small features, which has a specific purpose as a derived product from this primary product. So thank you very much. That was my last slide.
Thank you very much, Sergey. We have a question from our colleague from the GRC. I'm not quite sure how should I pronounce your name. So I will please speak up and you have the floor now.
Hi, you can just call me Momo. Yeah. So no, because you were showing the slides comparing the different products earlier on, and for the example of Copenhagen, for example, at some point you had red parts which are supposed to belong to the small woody feature data set that look like they're much bigger than 30 meters. So I don't really see how that fits inside the specification of having a length and width geometric rule, while or maybe it just looks like that to me, but it just kind of didn't make sense in my head.
There are different rules applied to linear and patchy features, and it's a question how may make difference between linear and patchy. Maybe more clarification could be given by the producer, but that could be behind.
Yes, if I may. In fact, the geometric rules, there are different geometric rules that applied to all the features to detect if they are linear or patchy. So within the workflow of the production, we have a segregation between different classes of small woody features, but at the very end, everything is merged to one unique class, meaning that you could have some elements. It's very difficult in the. I know it's very difficult at the end in the end product to assess if a feature, if a polygon is present in the final product, because it's a linear feature. Is it a patchy feature, or is it a merge of both things? Meaning that you can have some parts that are larger to the maximum width because it has been considered as a patch or thing like that. And also it's true that we have some, as Grigori mentioned, there are a lot of complex geometric rules. It's true that even if we have a maximum width of 30 meters, for instance, landscape element can be sometimes thinner than 30 meters, and you have somehow a width that becomes wider, and therefore, and then again a bit further in the landscape, the same continuous element that becomes again thinner, and to avoid having some arbitrary cut, because we pass from 29 meters width to 30 meter, or from 21 meter width to 30 meter, and having those artificial cuts, which have a kind of a logic if we are looking into the geometry pools, but in an ecological way of thinking, or ground truth, it's still the same continuous features, and therefore some parts can be still included if they are connected to valid small woody feature, or if they are outside of specification, but on a small scale, meaning it could be wider than 30 meter, but if it's on a length of below 50 meter, it's still considered as a valid small woody feature if on both sides of this out of spec part you have some valid small woody feature existing. So it's true that it could be very difficult to apprehend those geometric definition of the linear or patchy elements, and this is why, in fact, we merge everything into one unique class, and what should be considered for the small woody feature is, in fact, it's a mapping of all woody features that are outside of forest mask and that are not agroforestry, if we put it in a nutshell. But of course, if we want to more details about the technical part, why some elements could be included and why some elements should be excluded, I encourage you to check the product documentation where everything is detailed.
Nice, awesome, thank you. That was going to be my question, whether these rules are described in more detail in the product manual and stuff. But if you say they are, then we can check that they're written. Cool, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Mike, for that very, very good explanation. I would like now to give the floor to Stuart Green from Ireland. He has included a question in the chat. Please, Stuart, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, it's only because you so kindly mentioned Ireland at the beginning of your talk. In our analysis of the products, the small woody features product does omit quite a large area of hedgerows in Ireland, but I think this is because the majority of our hedgerows are less than 5 meters wide, which makes them seem small, but in an Irish context where we've got very low forestry, then it's important to us to pick them all up. Do you think it's possible that these narrow hedgerows would have been omitted in your analysis, and that if we consider these figures to represent a sort of minimum mapping width of more than 5 meters but less than 30, that gives us a better sense of where the product lies in terms of its utility?
Thanks for the question, Luc. Could you please answer?
Yes,
Yes, it's likely that the very the thinner element below 5 meter could be omitted from the product. Why that? It's because the VHR data we use to map those features, as I already mentioned, present some kind of heterogeneity. So depending on the area of Europe, we use VHR data at 2 meter spatial resolution or 4 meter spatial resolution, meaning that if the area is covered by 4 meter spatial resolution, mapping something that is 3 meter or 4 meter large width, it could be challenging. What could happen also is that we have a partial detection of those elements, and when we apply those geometric rules, the partial elements are too small and therefore are rejected, even if on the ground it's one continuous part. So that's kind of a limitation of the input data, and also as we provide at the end a 5 meter spatial resolution product, smaller element could be omitted, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, certainly the confidence product that was illustrated did seem to be picking up some of those areas, but they were dropping out because of low confidence. So maybe if that was made available at some point, that might help some of us.
I want to say that this, as far as I know, the confidence layer, it can, if it has not been already made available, it is indeed made available as if requested. So if you would like to have it, don't hesitate to contact us, and we will make it available. I do have 2 comments to the presentation by Lechner. By Gergely. First is, if you could go to slide number 34, please. What we see there, that is the forest, what is included under the forest mask doesn't seem to be reflecting forest. Would you please maybe, and I'm not sure if it should be Gergely or if it should be Lloyd, could you please explain why those areas that do not actually seem to be forest are included as part of the forest mask?
Maybe I try to answer first.
Sure, please go ahead.
The forest mask was created on behalf of the tree cover density layer, and which is a separate different product. And the tree cover density, the 10-meter resolution, the tree cover density layer does not allow to map all the details, and that what they have done, they have characterized this area with low resolution tree cover, so below 30 degree. But it is still in the tree cover layer, and maybe that is the reason why it appearing in the forest mask.
Lloyd, any comments?
Yeah, it's true that what Gergely just said. Just one clarification that this forest mask is based on the tree cover density layer, where the very first step of producing this forest mask is to apply a 10% tree cover density threshold. So that means that everything that is above 10% tree cover density is included in the forest mask. Of course, we apply afterwards some kind of minimum mapping unit and so on. But if we take into account this 10% threshold, plus the fact that the tree cover density is based on a coarser resolution product, coarser resolution Earth observation data, because it's derived from Sentinel-2, that explains quite significantly why we have those elements that are masked, because although details cannot be correctly identified using Sentinel-2 at 10 or 20 meter resolution.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much. I also wanted, and this will bring us to the next slot of the webinar, is to comment on the behavior of the forest mask within the urban areas. So maybe, Sophia, if you could go this one. No, the previous one. Here we have an area in Copenhagen where as Gergely very rightly pointed out, one park is masked out due to the forest mask, and the other one is not. First, what I want to say is that, to my understanding, the forest mask was not thought to work well in urban areas, in the sense that the product was not designed thinking about urban areas. But this is my understanding, and of course I might be wrong, because when I joined the agency, the product had already been defined. What I want to say is that indeed in some urban areas, it might see, and this is a good example, but actually in my home region, it happens the same. We have a park which is close to a river, and sometimes the trees are mapped and sometimes are not. And in the future, if we would like to address the trees in the urban areas, we should indeed try to avoid masking out these, because it would be a limitation. I have just to finish with this, and before giving the floor to my colleague Anna, we have quite an interesting question from Marijn from the GRC, and he's saying, "What are your thoughts?" And I imagine he's asking it to Gergely about the impact of unharmonized VHR acquisition.
It is maybe more to Loic.
Yeah, like.
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, this unharmonized VHR acquisition is a kind of limiting factors to what can be done right now, because if it's very easy on a local scale using VHR to have homogeneous coverage and to go into very detailed technical specification, it's really challenging when you take into account those the European extent, because this product covers 6 million square kilometers. It's very challenging right now to have an homogeneous coverage over such a large extent, and therefore, yeah, that's a limiting factor, of course. It would be if we have the more harmonized VHR coverage, I mean, within each dataset and also across different dataset for different reference years, it would be feasible to go into more details and to have a more detailed product if we have a more harmonized VHR data with standards in terms of co-registration, for instance, or things like that. So it's kind of a limiting factor, but it's not totally due to the definition of the product or the workflow, but it's what is available currently in terms of data.
Okay, thank you very much, Loic, Gergely, for this part. And now I would like to start with the presentation of use cases, and therefore I will give the floor to my colleague Ana Maria Ribeiro de Sousa, who's going to present a use case on the potential contribution of small woody features to urban greening. Ana, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Shui. My role in this use case session is to look at the data needs for monitoring urban greening efforts, and in particular, looking at the potential contributions of small woody features among other available CLMS datasets. Next, please. So as we all know, urban green spaces are becoming recognized as contributors to sustainability, both in the international frameworks and also in a number of European policies. So in fact, urban greening is an emerging priority in the EU policy. And I have decided to list here quite a few of those international frameworks or EU policy because they all, in a certain way, link to urban greening. Starting with the biodiversity strategy to 2030, it encourages to bring nature back into cities by creating accessible green infrastructure. Then there's the EU Green Infrastructure Strategy. This is dates back from 2013, if I'm not mistaken, which also emphasizes the benefits of green spaces in a way for fighting social isolation and strengthening the communities. The third one is the EU Climate Adaptation Strategy, recognizing the role of nature-based solutions also for climate resilience. Then we have the signatories of the Green City Accord pledging to conserve and enhance urban biodiversity by increasing the extent and the quality of green areas in cities. Now coming to international frameworks, we have here also the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 11.7, aiming to provide universal access to safe, inclusive, and accessible green and public spaces. And then the translation into the EU SDGs, so the European SDGs 11.7.1, that contains two indicators, one of them being the share of urban population without green urban areas in their neighborhoods. And the last one I want to mention is the current new proposal for the nature restoration law that looks at several ecosystems, one of them being the urban ecosystems, and has some targets aiming at no net loss of green urban space by 2030, but also increase in the area by 2040 and 2050. Next, please. Lastly, I also have to mention here the urban agenda for the EU. The urban agenda aims to promote cooperation between member states, between cities, the European Commission, and other interested stakeholders in city matters. And they do that by setting up partnerships. And it was launched originally in 2016 for the first time with the Pact of Amsterdam, and was then again reconfirmed in 2021 with the Ljubljana Agreement. As I mentioned before, the delivery mechanism of the urban agenda is the thematic partnerships. And there is one in particular that was approved on the 26th of October last year, which is the Green Cities Thematic Partnership. And this partnership is important because it has a focus on the green and blue infrastructure in an urban context. So as you can see, urban greening is at the core of numerous policies and initiatives. And I mentioned only a few, there's many more, and dating for many years ago. Next, please. So what is green, you may ask? And we can find in the literature many terms that are used interchangeably. We have urban green, we have urban green infrastructure, we have green urban areas, urban green areas, just switching. Green urban spaces, urban forest, there's a whole panoply. Sometimes they refer to the same concepts, but sometimes they differ slightly because they target different audiences or objectives or even different initiatives. So next, please. Green urban areas and green urban spaces are synonymous for urban areas which are partly or completely covered with vegetation such as grass, shrubs, or trees. Next. And if we look at the definition of green infrastructure that is found in the dedicated strategy, and here is copy-paste, it is written that it is a strategically planned network of natural and semi-natural areas designed to deliver a wide range of ecosystem services. Next. So why did I mention green infrastructure? I did because it brings me to the work of the European Environment Agency that developed the methods to derive precisely that green infrastructure. And this method takes the functional urban areas as units of analysis, considering two components, the urban and peri-urban area. And the mapping of green infrastructure is based on two components. There's a physical mapping composed of hubs like protected areas or parks, and composed of links that are also called the connectors, where small features as a roadway. And there's also the ecosystem services-based mapping. Here on the right side of this slide, we can see a very nice sketch of many potential components of green infrastructure. You can see a forest, you can see an urban park, you can see an hedgerow, and it also shows some components of blue infrastructure like lakes or rivers. Why did I decide to put this picture here? I decided to use it because it also shows two other elements that are becoming more present, more important in an urban context, which are the green roofs and the green walls. Next, please. So I just mentioned the physical mapping, and here in this table, we can see listed all the elements of green and blue infrastructure that were chosen to be part of this work of the agency, and that are extracted from several CLMS data sets. So starting with green linear elements, so a type of green that was extracted from a small woody features dataset. Then we have, for instance, private gardens, green urban areas, sport and leisure facilities, natural and semi-natural areas. All those are extracted from the Urban Atlas dataset, from several of the classes that this dataset provides. Then we also have agricultural areas coming from a dataset called Ain Nature Valley Farmland, which in fact, in turn, is also a compilation of several CLMS datasets like Green Cover and some of the high resolution layers. And finally, two types of blue, the wetlands and water bodies, also coming from the Urban Atlas classes. Next, please. So all the work that was developed to derive the urban green infrastructure can tell us a story of how green European cities are. And why is this important? It is important because greener cities have a direct impact on health and well-being. Green spaces contribute to improve air quality, they help to reduce noise, they help moderate temperatures during hot periods, and they provide cool and shaded areas, as well offering opportunities for physical exercise, among others. I put here in the top of the page or of the slides a link where you can find the work done by the agency if you are interested to know more details. The next, please. But just as an example, I chose to present you with this graphical representation of the green infrastructure work, showing the results of the work that I mentioned, and here expressed as a graph, showing the composition of green infrastructure. You can see on the right side, water, wetlands, HMD farmland, private gardens, all that, and shows the composition of green infrastructure in 2018 in EU 28 countries. And here you can see how countries compare to each other, and it also gives us an indication of the effort needed for some of them to become greener. Next, please. And finally, I would like to refer to the latest, and I would say unavoidable and emerging policy driver that comes from the legal proposal for a nature restoration law that was adopted by the Commission on the 22nd of June last year. It's a proposal not yet adopted by the Parliament and the Council. It's still under discussion, but it will come one day, I guess. And this proposal aims to restore ecosystems, habitats, and species across all EU land and sea area, aiming to contribute to achieve climate mitigation and climate adaptation objectives of the EU, and also meeting international commitments. So this proposal contains many targets, among which for forest, for agriculture, for marine, but also for the urban ecosystems. And I guess all this work also comes from the pilot projects of the urban ecosystems under the MAS framework. In particular, the urban ecosystem targets aim at no net loss of green urban space by 2030 and an increase in the total area covered by green urban space in 2040 by 3% and in 2050 by 5%. This proposal is based on a very extensive impact assessment of what the documents, and contains a glossary of terms with a definition of cities, what we mean by cities, what we mean by towns and suburbs, what is urban green space, and what is urban tree canopy, and clearly states that these last two that I mentioned, so urban green space and urban tree cover, shall be calculated on the basis of CLMS datasets. And it is also clear from the proposal that there is an interest to account for data on green roofs and green walls. Next, please. So as a conclusion I would like to group them in two different parts. The first part, which is aligned with the object of this webinar, small features, I would like to state that small feature is an important data set for providing some elements of green infrastructure, such as linear elements and the patches. It's important because it provides a wall-to-wall coverage, which is an advantage for covering towns and suburbs that are outside of urban atlas cities. And this is a very clear requirement from the Nature Restoration Law. However, it does not capture all urban green elements, since some are masked out by the forest mask, and this was already extensively discussed by the colleagues. It is actually a matter tightly connected to the original specifications of the product, and was already mentioned in previous presentation. And secondly, I would like to mention from the perspective of the Nature Restoration Law. And here I can inform that there was a very preliminary analysis done by the colleagues from the JRC with the support of BEA providing the data. They looked at the available CLMS data sets that can be used to support urban ecosystems monitoring. And it was found that there's no single data set that can cover all the needs. Some of them have coarse resolution, are not updated frequently, like for instance, Chlorine Vancouver. Others do not include all cities, towns, and suburbs, such as Urban Atlas. CLC Plus backbone was found to provide higher resolution, and the update cycle is also more interesting every second year. However, higher resolution would be needed for also mapping green roofs and vertical gardens as one example. The other data sets such as the small features and HR, high resolution vegetation technology and productivity, they were not yet analyzed, but they will be soon. So the overall conclusion of this preliminary assessment is that we need higher resolution products, so below 10 meters. They are likely should be based on VHR satellite data, and they should be classified according to the urban targets for monitoring and reporting on urban green. So what I'm pleading for simple products, avoiding examples such as the Small Features 2015, that was a product difficult to preempt by the common user. And I think it aligns also very well with some of the ETC recommendations for product evolution by providing full cover of high quality and detailed cover map at 5 meter resolution. I believe, just to conclude, that these upcoming requirements of the Nature Restoration Law provide very clear specifications for the evolution of CLMS products in general and the small feature in particular. And that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna, for this very interesting presentation. I would like to ask you, since you are also talking about the Nature Restoration Law, maybe I missed it, but what are the requirements regarding the updates?
Well, the baseline is 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know all the details, but I know what I mentioned when I showed in the presentation is that everything has to be measured according to 2021. And then there's 2030, 2014, 2050. But I don't know if there are more, and this is still being discussed. But we need at least the baseline at 2021. That's important.
Okay, good. And regarding the timeliness, is there any restrictions that you are aware of?
What do you mean timeliness?
So how soon are we able to provide the data after the reference year? So 2021, should it be ready by, I don't know. No.
Well, at least 2021 should be available. I don't think there's that it's like every year or every second year. But maybe some colleagues that are here from the JRC know some more about it than I do. I didn't read the whole thing. I know the baselines 2021, 2013, 2014, 2015.
Okay, thank you very much. I will give the opportunity to the GRC colleagues if they know. Otherwise, we will move now to the presentation by Ludwig, who is sitting right here close to me. The floor is yours, Ludwig.
Thank you very much, Usue. And thank you for, and as Usue said earlier, we're sitting in a room at ESA where there's construction, so maybe there will be some interruption, but hopefully they have stopped working now. So I'm going to present here the 5th section of this webinar, where I will describe the work of some thematic colleagues at the EA who are producing a forest connectivity indicator using the small woody features as have been presented to you here today. And this is done in collaboration with the colleagues at the JRC, who are mainly responsible for the method development and using also an algorithm that was developed at the JRC some years ago. Next slide, please. Okay, so first of all, what do we mean with forest connectivity? So forest connectivity is measuring, or forest connectivity is the fragmentation from different land use changes. And these drivers, the main drivers, are usually the production forests, so expansion of production forests, land use change to urbanization, so expansion of built-up area, infrastructure development, meaning so railroads, roads, etc., and also land use conversion to agriculture. All these fragment the landscape in terms of here, when we talk about forest connectivity, they fragment the landscape in how forests are connected and through linear woody features as well. Next, please. And so connectivity here, or what is the two main variables that are important here is the connectivity, first of all, and then the size of forest patches. And what we were interested in is that how these benefit species, and the fragmentation, then how they disperse species. So connectivity mainly is benefiting the dispersal of species, and size, and in some sense connectivity is also benefiting the diversity of species. Next, please. And there's a difference here in between plants and animals. So for plants, it's mainly seed dispersal. So connectivity is very important for the plant, for the beneficial of plants. But it's also more habitat types, of course, if you have larger forests, etc. For animals, it's forage and breed and seeking shelter. So it's a combination of both. Next slide, please. So if we want to build a forest connectivity indicator, we want to be able to measure the spatial intactness of forest cover. And an important thing I've already mentioned here is, or touched upon, is that the spatial intactness or forest connectivity is the inverse of fragmentation. So when measuring one of them, we measure the other one at the same time. Next, please. And what the colleagues here are aiming for is a general indicator. That means it's not specific, species specific, which is usually referred to as functional connectivity. When focusing on species specific connectivity, there's a set of variables unique to each species in how the landscape is accessible to that specific species. But as I said, this version of the forest connectivity indicator is trying to get a general sense of the landscape connectivity or the forest connectivity. Additionally, there is no natural or production forest distinction. This is, of course, a very interesting indicator, but for now, there is no such input data to make this distinction. So to look at the natural forest connectivity, that is. But of course, in the future, this is an interesting addition. Next, please. And what is aimed for here is or what it derives to in the end, as an indicator, is to derive this forest area density values. So for each pixel, it's determined a value in how it's connected to forests. So from very low 0 to 10%, and then it goes up in low, intermediate to high, and very high. And we will see this in later examples, where here high and very high are usually already within forest patches. So the small woody features mainly contribute in between these values. And here again, just to underline that in the table to the right, that we have in this classification we have of connectivity, we of course have the inverse in fragmentation. So if we have a very low connectivity, we of course have a very high fragmentation. Next slide, please. So this, as I said, is based on a methodology developed by colleagues at the JRC. It's called the Morphological Spatial Pattern Analysis, MSPA in short. And it is a general algorithm for detecting connecting pathways and can be used on other input data as well. So, for example, you could solve a maze with it, then your input data would be the maze walls would be your barriers, right? And then it could be used to find the path through the maze. But here we instead use the forest mask as have been presented and the small woody features. Actually, I have to correct here. It's the woody vegetation mask that is used. So not it's input from the small woody features, but it's a woody vegetation mask because of course we're interested in all woody features when doing such an indicator. And as you see, the MSPA is classifying spatial pattern of input data. So for this indicator, of course, when the input data is forest and woody features, it's classifying the spatial patterns of those, and it's the output of this intermediate step is to classify into these core, islets, loops, bridges, etc. Next slide, please. So here is just a bit visualization on the workflow. As I said, the forest mask, and here it's correct, the woody vegetation mask in green for an area. Next, please. And then we see the derived MSPA, so the classification into the core and the MSPA classes in how they define how the woody vegetation features contribute to the connectivity. Next, please. And then further, we see the forest area density, the FAD, classified from the MSPA, determining the connectivity per pixel of the woody features. And of course, here it's intransparent, but what is transparent over this very high resolution image is, of course, the pixels that are determined as having no connectivity, right? So don't be fooled by the transparency. Next, please. And further, here's an example of a countrywide application or countrywide extent of the FAD. In this case, it's Latvia. And we can go to the next slide. So this is the stage at which this indicator is currently in. Now colleagues are working on the aggregation on member state level. So as we've seen in the previous examples, here I have added yet another example on how an indicator looks like. In this case, it's land take intensity, but the goal for the forest connectivity indicator is equal, to try to determine per country or per even regional, as seen in the map here, the connectivity of the landscape as a whole. And of course, important, this is a first step here with the 2018 layer, but of course continuous monitoring when building indicators is of importance to be able to derive trends and projections for the future. And next, please. Yeah, again, to derive the country-specific statistics, that is the goal. So I've added the link there to the EA indicator website, and keep a lookout for it. The indicator will probably be published within 1 or 2 months. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ludwig. Maybe we could actually, I see that there are no questions in the chat, but maybe I would like to, because we do have here, as far as I know, the GRC colleagues who have been working on this indicator, and maybe I would like to invite them, if they want, to take the floor and make some comments or some annotations, or may give some input that that they feel that should be given at this point. Anyone from the GRC? Otherwise, we would be giving the floor. I will give the floor to our colleague Andrea Haggio to start on the next presentation, which is a use case on the woody landscape features within agricultural areas as an input to the CAP impact indicator I-21. I see that Andrea, who could not join earlier, already joined the webinar. So maybe, Andrea, the floor is yours. Are you there? I think she was. Okay, she might be having some problems because she was here before, but she left apparently.
She should now be joining.
Okay, thank you very much, Sofia. Andrea? Here she is. Andrea? Can you hear me, Andrea? Andrea? There seems to be a problem because she's not muted, but she's not there. Here she is. Andrea? Can you talk? Okay. Now you're muted. You will need to unmute yourself. Now?
Hi.
Hi, Andrea. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Welcome, and thank you for being here. So now it's I will give you the floor for your presentation, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So I will talk about, good afternoon. I will talk about the indicator development of woody landscape features within agriculture areas using the small woody feature product. Next slide, please. First, I will say a few words about landscape features. What are they? Why is it important to measure them? And after that, I will talk about the application of small woody feature products. Landscape features in agricultural land are semi-natural, natural elements embedded in the agricultural landscape. They include woody, grassy, wet, and stony features. They support biodiversity, and they deliver ecosystem services beneficial for agricultural production, climate change mitigation, and adaptation. Landscape features have been disappearing in Europe over the past decades, leading to biodiversity loss and environmental degradation. EU policies such as the Biodiversity Strategy for 2030 and the Common Agricultural Policy promote and aim to support the maintenance and creation of new landscape features in agricultural landscapes. The development of relevant indicators aims to estimate the area covered by landscape features in the agricultural landscapes, which is needed to track changes over time. Next one. So the small woody features products can be used to map woody features, woody landscape elements. What are the advantages of this approach? So to use small woody features. This is the only harmonized wall-to-wall information on woody features in Europe with acceptable level of information and detail allowing to map most of the targeted woody features. All identified woody features are included now in the 2018 product portfolio without predefined geometric rules in the woody vegetation mask product. Subset of features can be selected based on user requirements. Update is foreseen every 3 years, so it will be possible to use it for monitoring purposes. Next one. What are the challenges related to using Copernicus small woody features product? Of course, its spatial resolution sets the limit. So it was already mentioned earlier that if we talk about 5 meter spatial resolution, of course, it can exclude relevant smaller features such as 1 or 2 meter wide linear features or smaller trees. We have landscape specific issues, especially in areas with a strong intermixing of woody vegetation and open areas like rubber land or grassland and transition areas in between. And this is not purely a technical issue, but it's very challenging, difficult to define landscape features in these types of landscapes. So this needs more thinking and discussions. For change detection, we are waiting for the change layer 2018-21. As it is small woody features products, of course, it only covers woody features, so we do not have data on grassy, wet, or stony features. And as it has been already discussed, some uncertainties remain for technical reasons, for example, due to possible classification mistakes, use of forest mass to exclude forested areas. For quality assessment, we have quantitative quality assessment for the small woody feature product and look and feel verification, but we are interested in doing further quality assessments to provide recommendations also for the future small woody feature products. We also have to say that at the same time, continuity is important to be able to monitor temporal changes. So even if data, technology, methodology is continuously improving, continuity is important. Next one, please, sorry. So on this slide, you can see the results from our indicator development. What we did is that we used woody vegetation mask product aggregated to 100 meter resolution and also the small woody features density layer. So these 2 layers we used to define the woody landscape features. For our reference area, we developed an agriculture area mask specifically for this purpose. It is based on Corinne land cover, refined by CLMS high resolution layers. Both the woody vegetation mask and the small woody feature layers were overlaid with this agriculture area mask. And then the percentage of agricultural surface covered by woody features is calculated considering the actual percentage within each 1 hectare cell. Statistics can be calculated for any NUTS regions. And here on the maps, you can see the results for NUTS 3 regions using the woody vegetation mask on the left side and small woody features on the right-hand side. You can see that we have classes from the 0 to 3 until up to above 10%. And you can also see that there are only slight differences between the two maps and between the figures for Europe or EEA 39 countries, which is 4.7% if we use woody vegetation mask and 4.2% if we use small woody features. And for EU 27 countries, it's 5.0 and 4.5%. Next one. I will conclude with this slide. Based on our analysis, it can be recommended to use the woody vegetation mask product from the portfolio to map woody landscape features within agriculture area in Europe. It is because this layer includes woody landscape features detected and identified with a clear methodology. Change detection is not possible yet. It is to be seen when the 1821 change layer will be available. It is important to understand whether an indicator is equally applicable for all agricultural landscapes across Europe or whether it needs to be restricted to specific target land use. Further refinement of the definition of landscape features under EU policies and stratification of agriculture areas might help further in development of relevant indicators. The reference agriculture area derived from Corinne land cover will need to be replaced by upcoming CLMS products. Thank you. This was the last slide from me.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Thank you also for being here. I know you had to rush from a previous meeting, so thank you very much. I would like to ask you two questions. First is on one of the conclusions you have written here on whether that we should reflect on whether an indicator is equally applicable for all agricultural landscapes across Europe, or whether it needs to be restricted to specific target land use. This somehow links as well to some recommendations that Sergei, who unfortunately had to leave before, already mentioned several times. That is, whether it actually makes sense to have a product, to create a product such as small woody features to hold the AOI, or it should be restricted. Because we are aware that the definition as it is now, it does not work for the whole area of interest. And this of course, entails a communication challenge with our users. A good example is we always put the same example, the agroforestry in the Mediterranean area. The question is not whether if the product is actually reflecting well the reality, it is whether it makes sense to have it there as it is now. So with this conclusion, is it something similar that you want? Is it that you want to highlight? And how feasible do you think it is to have different or to apply different ways or different indicators depending on the area?
Yes, thank you. So I see at least two issues with this, because one issue is that you have to optimize the whole methodology for the area for which you do the product. So if the area is different, optimization will be different. So if we would focus on the core areas where landscape features are most meaningful, then you could achieve even higher precision probably, and it would be more straightforward. On the other hand, we need to monitor changes. So in time, these areas will also change where you should measure them. So then it would be another challenge how to define those areas where you measure these things. So, and if it's changing in time, it's a difficult challenge, I think. So maybe, yeah, there are advantages, disadvantages. And if we have the product for the whole area, we can always extract those areas we are interested in but of course, then also the quality is already different already before. So this is completely for further discussion. And what we are doing currently is that we are calculating statistics for different types of agriculture areas. What we can use for this stratification is a bit limited. We can use Corin and cover classes, and we also use a classification done in a scientific article where agricultural landscapes were classified based on land use intensity, basically. So we are doing some efforts in this regard, but it would be good to continue these discussions.
Yeah, and my other question is referring to, well, I actually have another one afterwards, but I will first do the second one. It's on the reference agricultural area. You mentioned that it has been derived from the Conington cover. As I said, as it has been announced, I think or it has been quite announced. I'm not sure how aware people are how aware people in this webinar are about it. We will have an update for the 2024 Conington cover based on 2024 imagery. However, as you have already said, we are always thinking about consistency, about coherency with time. And my question is, how do you expect this reference agricultural area to be changed? Because what concerns me is if we make it too dependent on a single product, that entails, of course, risk. So I don't know if there are other methodologies that you are already considering.
Well, we did some tests already. What would happen if we used the CLC Plus backbone, and we see that it can provide some improvements on defining the agriculture area. But without having the traditional Corin land cover, we need additional land use data for agricultural land, and if that can potentially come from countries, that would be helpful. But I don't know if that will be the case or how it will work. Otherwise, potentially we could also use, of course, IX data from the countries if that would be feasible in the future. But that's also a question for the future.
Okay. Have you considered using the crop type classification that is now under production?
Yes, that we'll have to see. Yes.
Okay. Good. And another, just my last question is regarding, we have had several conversations about it between you and I, because I was the product owner of this product in the CLMS, regarding what the extension to other landscape features should be on how we could evolve the product. And I know that this goes into a little bit to the next point of the agenda, which is about the future developments. But I would like to know your opinion, if you could share your opinion about which other landscape features would be feasible to map right now, because we know that the limitation is indeed a spatial resolution. And I also wanted to know if there is currently a common definition of those other landscape features that would need to be mapped within the CAP.
Yeah, maybe others could answer that question even better, but yeah, the other challenge is that member states, of course, they have freedom to define their landscape features. So yeah, we do not really have one specific definition, I think, for any of these features. There are different definitions used in different contexts. Here, as we were discussing about this topic, I think we saw that small ponds could be an option to map with remote sensing. There, the challenge is that we cannot necessarily distinguish different types of small ponds with different biodiversity value.
Yeah, we have also said this in the past. The problem with the small ponds is that with satellite imagery, I can guess that we would be able to map all ponds, but then we would need to get into whether they are natural or not or artificial, and that is where the real challenge comes. What Marain has just posted a question if you are in touch with Agri for the policy discussion.
Well, we are, and then we should continue discussions, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if there are more questions either for Andrea. They could also be for Ludwig, or if I saw that Peter Bock included a comment in the chat. I don't know if you would like to take the floor, Peter, or it was just a comment on the presentation from Ludwig. Otherwise, we would go to the last. He has other problems, he says. Okay, I'm sorry to hear about that, Peter. If not, I would like to present the future developments. I also want to say that this webinar, we made it until 5, but just to give the opportunity to have discussion, but most probably we'll finish earlier, and no problem for that. So on the future developments, if you go to the next slide, please. We have, this is actually a summary of what is known and what is unknown at this point. We have, as I said when I gave the introduction to the webinar, we are now starting to draft the call for tenders for the next update for small features. It will include the updates to 2021 and 2024. And we are doing so also in conversations with our colleagues from the GRC, with input from people like Andrea Javio, who is in contact with Agri, and also with people who, like Anna, who is in contact with those of our colleagues at the EA that are dealing with urban greening and urban climate adaptation. And with this, there are some knowns that we know that we already have in mind in this call. First, we know that we will that due to just for the sake of efficiency in the portfolio, we will move the urban atlas street tree layer to the small woody features. The reason for this is, as I said, to look for some efficiencies in the production, but we also want to, and this was also said by Anna in her presentation, there's an advantage in having them in the small woody features, and it is that we do not only restrict the mapping to the functional urban atlas, urban areas that are included in the urban atlas. We also know that our update frequency at this moment is every 3 years. And this is so because we are limited by the availability of the very high resolution imagery. ESA and DEFIS and ESA are now working in the definition of the next coverages. The 2021 coverage was finished, I think, last March, or the last gap filling was finished last March. Apparently 2021 was a very cloudy year, so the coverage could not be completed until quite later. So this is to say we will stick for 2021 and 2024 for 3 years. What we do want is to work on being able to make the data, the products available earlier. And this does not only mean the part on our side, because the products were delivered in January 2022 and we were not able to publish them until recently, but also means that we are trying to make our production more responsive to the data acquisition. What we also know is that we are seeking for a harmonization with other CLMS products. We have been looking what can be found in the CLC plus backbone raster product, looking at if there would be some added value in using the HRPPP as source of input data for the update of the small body features, etc. What we do not know, or some of the unknowns for the next updates, is whether we will produce all woody features. This has been one of the recommendations pointed out by the colleagues of the EPCDI. They have said several times that it would be more useful for our users to have all the woody features mapped, and then allow those expert users to further work on the data to derive the information they would like to derive from it. One of the arguments against this approach is that some of our users have already flagged that they actually want to have the ready-to-use data. So they are not so much on having all woody features, but to having small woody features, or however we would like to call them, according to a given definition. Of course, this situation would most probably bring us to mapping all woody features, plus including the downstream products, so to speak. This has been the way we have approached the update of the high resolution forest and grassland that are now being produced within the vegetated land cover characteristics, where we, in the grassland product, for instance, we are still giving continuity to grassland as it was defined in the previous updates, specifically for those users that were using already the product, but we are also mapping all herbaceous cover and giving the opportunity to users to derive grassland according to their own definition by giving them mowing events. Another one of the unknowns is what other landscape features can we map. As we already said with Andrea, as we already pointed out, it is difficult. We have a limitation with the spatial resolution. We cannot, for the reasons that Lloyd mentioned, even if we have input that goes from 2 to 4 meters, we cannot. It is very heterogeneous, and we cannot make sure that we will be able to map everything at 2 meters. So we actually cannot provide a 2-meter product at this point in time. And then we have the other one. There are 2 of the landscape features that we are now paying more attention to. One is on the grassy edges, because we are going to map grasslands, as I said before, although of course this has the problem of the spatial resolution, and the other one is small ponds that has entails the problem of not being able to distinguish from the satellite imagery whether we are doing whether we are looking at a natural or an artificial pond. Besides this, we have the EA already conducted a study based on artificial intelligence and extra high resolution imagery to see if we were able to detect more, to train on an algorithm that would allow us to detect more other landscape features, such as stone walls. The problem with the results was that we could indeed train the model to detect the stone walls, but the output of that not only detected the stone walls. So there, the commissions were very high, and therefore it was not feasible it was not considered feasible to go for mapping the stone walls on the whole area of interest with such high commission rates. I also know that CLS, who are here and who were the service providers for small woody features, have also carried out some investigations on their side. And so far, the results are promising, but what I would say is we are not yet there. Regarding the higher update frequency, this is also something that we have that has been addressed, and in a previous meeting I held with representatives of biodiversity. At this point in time, because due to the limitation of the input data, we are not able to increase the update frequency. And we are still trying to as also Andrea pointed out, we are still trying to solve the problem with the change layer on how to make sure that we can deliver a change layer that is accurate enough and that is not so much and trying to avoid as much as possible the limitations of having very high resolution imagery of different characteristics. So this is a little bit the summary of where we are now. I would like to know, we would now have time for a discussion if someone would like to step in. Are there any comments, any questions that anyone would like to do? If there are no comments on this, we will, of course, leave the webinar here. Again, any comments? Okay, if there are no questions, no comments, or if there are no if there's nothing that our colleagues would like to say regarding the future developments that I was mentioning, then we would leave here the webinar. I would like to give all the attendees a warm thank you for